Hello, hello. Yeah, it looks like we are online for our first Owl Satire
Show.
And that was Chloe, who seems very enthusiastic about doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know who's listening, if anyone, but we're going to just take you through the next 45 minutes because we had some problems getting in. And we're going to talk about some very recent, upcoming, current affairs-y type of things. We're not going to talk about Charlie Hebdo because I think that's been done to death. We're going to talk about much more interesting things like Wi-Fi in space.
Yeah.
And is cinema declining? Why do pimps wear so much jewellery? And should green movement start embracing nuclear power? Okay, so we'll start with something light, which is people in China living in caves. So there's a place in China called Yaodong, and basically 40 million people there live in caves, which is just a bit mental, considering, like, I don't know, what countries do you think have 40 million citizens?
Spain.
Spain? I don't know how many Spain has, but I'm pretty sure it's like, it's in that region. Anyway, imagine if everyone you knew from Spain lived in a cave. Because that's essentially what it is. So, according to our very reputable source, basically the caves are dug into cliffs and into valleys, and so they start on the surface and then they dig out a courtyard that's sort of interior, and then I guess they build houses in around it, and they just look kind of weird. So,
but they've been living in these caves since 2000 BC.
Wow.
Not these same people.
Not the same
China's
people.
Bronze Age, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. And actually, looking at some of the pictures, they look fairly sort of modern. They don't look like, some of these caves have windows and they're quite ornate.
Yeah.
Well, Mao Zedong's headquarters from 1935 to 1948 was a cave. So there you go. I bet you didn't know that. Oh, some around 180,000 people died in collapsed Yaodongs in 1556. We're just discovering.
That's
so
a lot of people.
If you lost anyone, our condolences. So yes, so that's that. Now let's get into some serious news. We're going to talk about Elon Musk, who you may know as the real Tony Stark, we were saying.
Yeah, the Tony Stark of the real world.
Yes, and basically what he's doing is he wants to spend $10 billion putting Wi-Fi in space.
I think that's fair enough, because if this is specifically for when we colonise Mars, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what he's thinking.
If you were to be in one of the first Martian colonies, you'd want to be connected.
Yeah,
to
you want to be.
To the world.
You want to be streaming this show, for example.
So I think we do need to put in place this infrastructure before commencing colonisation.
Yeah, and the way he also said, like, he wants to fund this by creating a global Wi-Fi network that will allow you to get online from anywhere in the world. And he said that the revenues from this somehow are going to fund expeditions to Mars and things. He's like a super ambitious guy.
Yeah.
And something else that he recently said, this was interesting because this has fueled loads of conspiracy theories and things. He said, he posted on an internet debate between technology leaders and things, like technology innovators. They were discussing AI, and he said that in the next 5 to 10 years, because computer intelligence is increasing exponentially, and when you look at the figures, it's actually increasing slightly quicker than exponentially. Basically, within 5 to 10 years, we're going to have robots that aren't dissimilar to, like, the Terminator and stuff. And he was like, so he posted this thing where he was basically saying, this is something that we really need to look out for, because in 5 to 10 years, computers are going to be way smarter than any of us, and they might start calling the shots. And he literally said, like, he printed it as like a warning, but then he took it down.
Oh.
He deleted it.
He knows
So-
more than we do then.
Yeah.
Is this something that he's invested in also?
Yeah,
Robots?
I'm sure he's studying it. I'm sure he's like into it, but his main thing is Tesla Motors, I think. But that's where most people know him. But I just thought that sort of fueled like so many, like online there were so many sort of conspiracy nuts being like, he's in league with them. Oh yeah, I also love his quotes on it because he's like, so basically whenever something goes wrong, he's really transparent. Apart from obviously about being in league with killer robots,
Yeah.
he's really transparent about his business. So one of the things that one of the things that happened was he launched the private SpaceX like expedition to the, I think it was like the Mir, like the this International Space Station, and it crashed, and it was like a horrendous fuck up, and he then went on all these internet things and just cleared it up with all the people, like, so he went on Reddit and was like, yeah, basically this happened, that happened, we messed up this bit of the engineering process, and he basically took responsibility for it, and he's kind of matter of fact about it. So like when the Tesla's not selling well, like someone at Ford will go, well, we expect that.
So he doesn't make excuses.
Yeah, he doesn't make any
goes
excuses.
for it, and if,
Yeah,
it,
he's
doesn't,
just
if it doesn't work out, then that's that.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, the Tesla's not selling very well right now. And then he goes, look, here's how we'll make it better. But, you know, someone at like a regular car company would be like, yeah, we forecast sales to improve, and these are our projections, and there's no need for any hysteria and all this stuff. But he's just quite happy to be like, well, here's why it's going wrong.
Yeah.
And so he did a similar thing with this plan to put Wi-Fi on Mars, which was, he said, like, he said, oh, well, it needs to be done. And then the other thing he said that I thought was great was like, no, I don't see anyone else doing it. Which was like,
that's true.
which I thought was quite, which I thought was just kind of a bold, I mean, people aren't doing a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should then do them. But yeah, and it also begs sort of philosophical questions about, should we spend $10 billion ensuring that Martians have Wi-Fi, or would it be better spent feeding people and doing things like that, building infrastructure in Africa? What would you say, Chloe Knight?
I think it probably would be better spent on that, but he clearly has enough money to fund crazy projects, and why wouldn't he? If I had $10 billion, I'd probably think of something fun to do with it.
Rather than the boring,
well, like,
the mundane
they don't need $10
poverty.
billion, you know.
Oh, just
Mundane poverty.
these
Yeah.
basic problems, yeah. Yeah, so that's that. Okay, so that was quite a serious topic, although I think we made quite light of it. So let's pick one that is a bit more upbeat. Actually, this isn't really upbeat.
This is not. I would say this is possibly the least upbeat of the topics.
It's also kind of like when people imagine what Russia is like, you know, people make those jokes about like in Soviet Russia, ball kicks you and stuff like that. And yeah, this kind of plays into every single stereotype that you might have about Russia, and that's basically like, so they have this. Russian doctors are starting to prescribe this this pill, and it says here that it's inserted into the buttocks, that is under the skin of your buttocks. That's a quote.
And if the patient drinks alcohol, then I don't know exactly what happens in this pill, but something is released from the pill, and then they will experience extreme pain.
Yeah, we've got a quote on what actually happens, because so they asked this guy what happens when they drink alcohol then, and he goes, one can never exclude death, but of course the doctor is not going to kill his patient, but the person will feel very bad, extremely bad. You will have pains, almost unbearable pains.
Yeah.
So
this is quite a radical solution to alcoholism, I think. Maybe coming from our perspective, but in Russia, an addiction is not thought of as you can get rid of an addiction.
Mm.
That you don't have to change yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have. There's no sort of background problems that you should work out to solve your addiction. It's
Really?
like, no, I'm just going to get rid of the addiction.
Where did you hear that?
On here.
Is that is that what we're reading about? Of course,
yeah.
I have an anecdote about this because I used to live in Russia, and one of the things that we heard about was, so the woman who was teaching my mum Russian, she said that she knew someone who was a heroin addict or something like that, and what they did was they had like a police officer in the family. He just handcuffed him to a radiator for 3 days, gave him enough like bread and water to live off, and then when he came out, he didn't feel the need to. He didn't really want heroin anymore. But apparently it was like harrowing and agonizing, and the guy was like extremely uncomfortable for those 3 days. But it did work, which I guess is another sort of, it feeds into this idea that Russians don't take the compassionate route.
Yeah, but then this person got over a heroin addiction in 3 days. Which, I mean, that's
record time. But it's like but nothing about this treatment is comfortable. So it's described as a torpedo. It's described as a torpedo, and it goes into your buttocks.
My favourite thing about this though is that it actually only lasts for about a week or so. So if after, say, 2 weeks after you've had this pill put in your buttocks, you drink alcohol, it won't affect you. And so the doctor said that he gets calls from people saying, I just drank alcohol, but if nothing's happened yet, and he says, oh well, actually it's a delayed reaction, so you're going to have to come here and I'm going to give you the antidote for $300.
Really?
And actually it's an unnecessary antidote for that, so he's making lots of money from this.
Yeah, did I read that it's like a placebo effect? Sometimes they give them placebos. Oh, that reminds me of another anecdote from Russia. I knew a guy whose dad was like a pharmaceuticals kind of giant in Russia, and it turned out one of the reasons why he's so rich is because instead of spending money on like chemicals that might heal you from something, he was basically putting just flour in some of these pills. He was literally it was like the biggest placebo factory in Russia for a time, and I think he like nearly got jail time, but I think he might have been able to like buy his way out of it. So that was a fun little diversion. Here's another sort of topic that's maybe a little bit more serious but also kind of cool, and also something that I have a joke prepared for this.
Oh.
And I'll slip it in. You won't even know that it's been prepared, but it's in there.
Okay.
So yeah, basically we are 1 year on since Colorado became the first US state to legalize marijuana for recreational use.
Yeah.
And so they've sold $1 billion worth of weed. There are 60 shops across the state. Wow. To the point where they now have like a columnist in the local paper to write reviews of weed, which I thought was really cool. So like, in addition to like the thousands of jobs that it's created, like there's this little
that would
one.
Be a perfect job for lots of people, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So one of the problems that they're having though is because legalization is illegal on the federal level.
Legalization is illegal on a federal level.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So like on the state level, they're doing something that's legal on the state level but illegal on the federal level, and that means that banks are like withholding some of their services, so they can't use credit or debit cards. And the manager of the 3D Cannabis Center says being robbed is his biggest fear, and he worries about it daily.
Wow.
So yeah, it might be all that weed that he's smoking making him paranoid.
Maybe.
Yeah, but basically it highlights a point of because they can't like get any assurances from the banks and stuff, it's still like a little bit precarious. Yeah. But maybe when it becomes like fully legal, because I think it's illegal in at least Colorado and Washington, and then I think the third is like Nevada or something like that. But it's like making progress, and I think it will be exponential because like gay marriage only became legal like a few years ago in some states, and now
That's
there's
in
like,
most states.
and now there's 36. Yeah, so it's way over half.
Yeah.
And I think like it will probably snowball in terms of weed, especially when people
Yeah,
realise
in terms of weed.
yeah, in weed terms, yeah. Because like I think a lot of states will look at $1 billion of sales in a year
Yeah.
and think, I'll have me some of that. So, yeah, how long do you think it will be until we legalise marijuana
Gosh, I
for
don't know.
recreational?
Are we anywhere near that? Have we taken it? No, I don't think so.
I don't think so, but it wouldn't take that long. Like, how long? Gay marriage was in Parliament for not that long, was it? Like 2 or 3 years or something before it got passed. So it doesn't necessarily have to take that long. But do you think we're a more prudish nation on this kind of?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I think we're British. We're prudish about most things.
Yeah. No, in addition to this, I was reading about how, like, basically marijuana suffered from like a big smear campaign from various places. So one was like rope and paper manufacturers really hated weed, not because of like the smoking of it, but because of the stuff that it comes from. Hemp is like a really strong natural fiber, and it kind of runs against, like, you can make really strong hemp rope. You can make like, there's also something like hemp concrete, which is really, really strong, and it's like natural or something like that. So yeah, but basically it's a really versatile thing, and other industries were getting put out by it, especially like the tobacco lobby of America and stuff, like really didn't like it. So they went through this really like organized process of just basically dissing it and getting it made. So like if you look at some of the adverts, in fact we can take a look at some of them, but they are like horrendous. They basically describe weed as, they say that it causes a mania and you go into like murder spasms, and that you, like, people who smoke it will become just complete delinquents and just kill everyone, and it's really crazy the stuff that they claim. So hang on, we'll find one. We'll get one of these posters up for you. We might even post it on the Facebook group. But so there's things like Reefer Madness, which was a film from 1929, and it's basically like a film that just, so the main character smokes weed and then kills everyone basically. Okay. And I think it's paid for like.
So do people reference this and say, look what could happen?
Yeah. That's literally it. They just say like, so here's what happens to it. Let's see, because some of these ads from like the 1920s are ridiculous. So yeah, it's like the sweet pill that makes life bitter, and then drug crazed abandon, and then and then there's other like posters that aren't related to it that say the same things, and also like unbridled hedonism, and then you think, ooh.
That sounds great.
Sounds quite good. Oh, but the murder spasms on the side, not so good. Yeah. But then they're living in a time where like maybe unbridled hedonism has some bad connotations as well. Like it corrupts the youth, and that's what they played on as well. It's like, this will get your kids, and they'll be really bad. So that was interesting. Oh, another thing was so it used to be called cannabis up until like the 1920s, when they changed it, so as part of this massive smear, they started calling it marijuana to Mexicanify the drug.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because that was the Spanish name. Yeah. So they started calling it marijuana in all their things, because then that makes you think, oh no, it causes murder spasms and it's Mexican. Yeah. Like it just keeps even worse. So Oh, here we go. Here are some quotes. So someone testified before Congress in 1937 that weed was a national menace, dangerous to mind and body, that releases all inhibitions. So then he's kind of pro. And then, and then he talks about the reefer madness again. And he also says that it's like a black thing and a Hispanic thing, and like ethnic minorities are basically using this stuff and going crazy. And so, yeah, it's people like that. So there's people in Congress, there's people in the media, there's people producing ads. And so, like, in a concentrated period of time, it got really badly sort of slandered, I guess. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So should we talk about pimps and their jewellery?
I think so. This is one of the more serious issues. What angle are you taking on this then?
So basically, this was I was reading something about a guy who runs a pawn shop in Las Vegas, and so he's talking about how he deals with all these high rollers on like a daily basis, and because it's Las Vegas, and apparently on big fight nights there's queues round the block because people are pawning their stuff to bet on the fight. And he said that one time, like, someone gave him a $40,000 ring to sell, but it turned out it had been stolen. So the police just come and like have to like confiscate it, and so he's out of pocket by 40 grand. And he was just like, that kind of stuff happens sometimes. But the real thing that was like quite cool about it was, so apparently a lot of people who use his pawn shop are pimps, because when pimps are raided, or taken in, police will seize their cash, but not their jewellery.
Not their gold chains and everything.
No, exactly. So, and then what happens is, so they go to jail, and then they've given all their jewellery to a mate who'll take it down to the pawn shop to pawn it for their bail money, basically. Wow. And then, I don't know, they get out and pimp some more, get some money back.
Pimp some more,
and then buy their jewellery back, and they're out of prison or whatever.
That's quite a good system, really, isn't it?
It's quite a cunning system, but it's weird because it's like, do you think that then like wearing jewellery wasn't so much a fashion choice, but a pragmatic business move?
Well, I mean, it probably developed into more of a fashion thing, because they could have pawned they could have got very different jewellery, like more subtle.
Yes. There's definitely some lack of subtlety. I'm just thinking of Snoop Dogg. Apparently, did you see that thing? So he heard about some farmer from like Wales or Cornwall or something, and he won like a prize for growing like big vegetables, big plants, and apparently, so Snoop Dogg then sent, a text or an email or something, however he communicates to this farmer and said, I want to meet you. Gave him like a backstage pass to one of his shows and stuff, and like they were together the night before, and then on like live TV he's like, we smoked loads of weed together. And he's like, we had a smoke, and then the reporter goes, just tobacco, right? He's like, no, weed. So yeah.
He contacted this guy because of his large vegetables.
Yeah. Literally because he grows so many, or he won a prize or something at a local competition, and then he's just like this Cornish farmer, and when he's being interviewed he's wearing like some really tatty like Hawaiian sort of t-shirt or like plaid t-shirt or something like that, and he just like looks like the most typical sort of eccentric farmer that you could possibly get. And so that's that. We talked a lot about weed today, weirdly. But now we're going to talk about ad block, because I'm doing my French oral presentation today on it.
Good practice.
So I think like practice in English and then translate it into French for later.
Perfect.
But yeah, basically, I don't know, I got turned on to this subject I was watching a video, and then some guy basically in the middle of it has a rant about how ad block is harming a lot of small people who work on the internet, so like YouTubers, bloggers, people who sell stuff on the internet and things like that. And the people who invented AdBlock they're going on a campaign to like try and raise money so that they can put an advert out, because they say they've got something like 80 million users, but there's like a billion.
A lot more.
Yeah. Because there's a billion internet users, and so 80 million is like a really tiny piece of the pie, realistically. And he pointed out that there's a hypocrisy, because in asking for money to have an advert that expands awareness of your product, you're sort of buying into the whole advertising thing anyway. Like you're literally buying into it, and you're also kind of saying, well, not enough people know about this, so we need to make people aware, and that's essentially kind of like what advertising is. So it's just weird that an anti-advertising thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm just explaining it really badly. So what's your perspective on it?
Well, I am an AdBlock user.
One of the 80 million.
I am one of those 80 million. Are you one of those 80 million?
Yeah, I am.
And well, adverts are annoying. Everyone thinks that adverts are annoying, so why wouldn't you have it? But definitely recently, adverts are getting through. People are finding ways of circumnavigating AdBlock.
These are people releasing content, right? Yeah. So like when you're trying to watch Take Me Out.
So I don't watch that.
That trash.
So on some streaming websites or TV channels, you have to disable it in order to watch, and but then
that's kind of lame. But then apparently what you can do is just, if you play the whole episode through and then you go back to the start, it will play through without ads, which effectively achieves the same thing.
Yeah, but who does that?
Yeah, it is annoying.
Just waiting for ages. I mean, you can get over it. It's not as long as a television break.
Yeah.
So, and as you touched on, these adverts are funding the content.
So it's kind of, but yeah, the thing is, like, if you're the kind of person who blocks an ad, you're probably also the kind of person who's not going to buy it even if they saw one.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. I suppose, like,
well, look, plenty of people would just be browsing the internet, not planning to buy anything, and drawn in. Yeah, so
one of those.
It could happen to any of us.
Yeah, it could. I don't know. And I also think, like, also the value of advertising is not necessarily that someone directly buys your product. Like, no one has ever, I don't think, in the history of the world, seen an advert and been like, I need that right now, and directly gone and bought.
I'd say that a lot of people do
really
that.
Do people really do that?
For example, like shopping channels.
Yeah.
People watch those endlessly, and you don't need anything on them, but you phone and buy this thing straight away as soon as you see it. It's kind of like that.
That's true. And I suppose there's like DFS summer sale.
They're not having a sale, are they?
No, they're not. It's not summer, but
it's winter.
But they'll have a winter sale or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose like when they do that, and it's like, you've got till this Friday.
Yeah.
And then I suppose maybe people go and...
I think a lot of people have that mindset.
I can't even imagine it. Maybe when I have any disposable income, like, because I've just forked out in a bag, and that set me back a long ways.
But it is a sound investment.
It's a sound investment.
And it will be used every day.
Exactly. We've had this discussion about how it's a great investment, because I need to believe that.
It's arriving tomorrow. It's arriving tomorrow, everyone.
Brace yourselves. Yeah, and what was I going to say? Yeah, I suppose, that is kind of true. But I think the main purpose of advertising is so that, the way it was explained to me is, it's so that when you go into the supermarket and there's like a range of things on a shelf, and you're thinking, what should I buy? Like, you go, I saw, just in the back of your mind, just in your subconscious, there's like an image of that thing, because it's something to do with like familiarity bias. So if you're familiar with something, you're like way more likely to buy it than if it's just some random thing that you had no idea about.
So even if you've just seen it on the side of a page somewhere.
yeah, just the fact that
you recognise it.
Yeah, apparently that makes a huge difference.
I can understand that.
And apparently also, on that note, like companies or people who sell particularly products like that are supermarket products, they'll pay for placement in certain parts of the shop and certain so like it's more expensive. Like it's more expensive to be placed at eye level, for example.
Yeah.
That's why like Sainsbury's Basics are always at the bottom, because realistically Sainsbury's don't really want you to buy that. They want you to buy the things with the big margins. Yes.
Well, you do. Sainsbury's Basics 2 bags all the way.
Oh yeah. Well, for anyone interested, you can get 40 tea bags for something like 29p.
It's just like, why would you not want to do that?
How would you not?
Yeah.
Well, the others are like quite expensive. You're paying in excess of £3. Anyway, you save a lot of money.
Anyway.
I'm happy. I don't mind being seen as a cheapskate. It's all students listening, if anyone. So, yeah. What else are we talking about? Yeah. So back to ad block and stuff. So when we were researching, which I think is the most appropriate word for this, when we were researching this, someone suggested that basically the problem with advertising is it's a pretty imperfect system for all three people involved in like the advertising loop, which is like advertisers, publishers, so like people who produce content, and consumers, because consumers find them annoying. Publishers get like as little as, so apparently Google pays as little as 1/12 for the thing, for the advertisers that go on there, and then the advertisers like converting an advert into a sale is like so improbable, and especially as people get more savvy to it, and ad block is another part of the mix, but like basically all advertising is so deeply imperfect that someone has said that there just needs to be a better system of advertising for all three that benefits all three to a greater extent.
But then what is that?
What is that? I think, maybe there's an innovation waiting to happen there. Maybe if you solve that problem, you would make a ton of money, and you probably would.
Yeah, but it's going to be a tough one to solve, because any app, it doesn't matter what advert it is, if an advert pops up, you just automatically close it, even if you would be interested. So I think maybe something subliminal.
Subliminal. I think that's what Facebook are doing, all kinds of like, because whether you know it or not, you've agreed to be part of Facebook's psychological experiments.
Yeah, exactly.
They're twisted.
They alter your newsfeed to change your emotions and
that kind of stuff. And also like, so they're developing software that can really easily recognize faces now and tell you who it is and stuff. I think they've already got it or something on some stuff. But basically what they're doing is they're analyzing your Facebook data to find out who your best friends are. Then they get pictures of their faces, and make a composite of all of them to get a face that is like all of your best friends' faces put together in a nice way. Not like
I'm not sure there is a nice way.
Yeah. Well, apparently, so what this does is it produces this unique new face that looks like all the faces that you associate with good things because they're your best friends.
So is this supposed to be like your BFF? This is like representative of your ideal friend?
Yeah, it's supposed to subconsciously evoke all the positive things that come with when you see like a friend or like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or like your grandma or whoever, and then what they do is they use that composite face that they made and they put it on their adverts, and then when you see it, you like, I don't know what it is about that face, but I really like it. I'm then gonna like bear this advert in mind. It's gonna affect me subconsciously way more. Yeah. Because subconsciously I can recognize the features. They're like they're familiar and stuff.
I feel like my grandma would really want to buy this.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but Doreen really wants. I can feel her speaking. Yeah. So one example of like a kind of a weird, manipulation of our primal subconscious and like the weird parts of our brain that we don't know are switched on to influence you into buying more Marmite or Long Johns or whatever it happens to be. I need some Long Johns actually. So if anyone could post on the Facebook page a good pair of Long Johns to buy, I'd be appreciative of that. But yeah, so it's like sly sort of tactics. Maybe it could be another business idea for me.
Yeah.
Or you. Actually, no,
if you're wanting to be a mogul, you need as many ideas as possible, really.
Yeah, exactly. So this can be another place to venture in.
Yeah.
Like advertising that's good for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Possibly more difficult to achieve than.
Yeah.
Although, your T-shirt scheme is the most. We should put out an advert actually. If anyone is good at drawing
and wants to be part of a T-shirt empire, then get in touch, because I need someone to draw some things with me. Yes. Oh, we were told. Actually, no, that makes them sound like dictators. But basically, Rare FM HQ have said Rare Fest, and I agree.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
We've got to plug Rare Fest.
Why do you agree with that? We should plug Rare Fest now.
Because I may or may not be doing 20 minutes of stand-up. They'll be really good and amazing.
20 minutes of Miles.
Whoa.
Yes.
So yes, there'll be 20 minutes of me to listen to, and as well as that, it does sound like a pretty good event in general, because so it starts at 2 p.m, closes at 12 a.m, and the midnight one.
Midnight. Yeah.
The midnight one. That's the 12 that it closes at.
AM.
Yeah, a.m. And so it's basically a whole day. There's entertainment the whole way through. There's like jazz. The people on before me sound like a really alternative band because they've got an invented word in their band name. It's like Marvin and the Scropes or something.
Something like that.
And I'm sure that's some indie band.
They made up a word. It's alternative.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've chosen an alternative to a real word.
Yeah.
That doesn't get more alternative than that. So, yeah, there's them, and there's like DJs, and apparently there's some big headliners coming in. You also get a discount on food. You get obviously it's in a pub, so it's like drinks, and I think it's 10% discount on all food and drinks for like the whole day or something.
Burgers from 2 till 10.
Burgers from 2 till 10. So yeah.
Excellent.
So that's Rare Fest. And yeah, maybe we've got a time for one more insolite.
Yeah, I think so.
So what can we talk about?
How about the octopi?
Yes. So basically, there's something like how many countries? There's a good deal of countries in the world where it's illegal to operate on octopuses without anaesthetic because they're considered to be so intelligent.
You can train octopuses to recognise things. I'm not sure exactly what. Shapes, colours.
To recognise them.
Recognise things.
What do you mean?
You can train them to complete a maze.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
See, this is why more countries should ban operating on octopuses without anaesthesia.
I've been operating on them without anaesthetic like loads.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to put an end.
So in 2013, this was actually extended to include all cephalopods. So
all cephalopods.
Yeah. So it's illegal to operate on an octopus or cephalopods without anaesthesia. But I think that's fair. Is it illegal? Is it legal to operate on other animals without anaesthesia?
I don't think you can. I know vets will know, but
I'm sure you have to use it for a dog.
Yeah, definitely a dog. Well, probably dolphins as well. That sounds. If the criteria is intelligence, it'll be dolphins.
Yeah.
And elephants. I bet most mammals are probably covered by it.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, they're quite cool creatures. Like I saw one. I saw a video on Reddit, which is incidentally where a lot of this information can be found in different forms. But Yeah, there's a video of like an octopus and it's on a boat and it's pink and the floor of the boat is white, and then in like a flash it just sort of like turns itself white. It's really cool.
Really cool.
It's like really awesome.
What did I just read there? They play. They do their own sort of fetch game where they would throw bottles or toys into their aquariums and then go and catch them.
That's quite cool, yeah. So they throw it into the current, and then the current brings... So it says circular current, so it's like kind of a boomerang effect. They throw it into the current and it brings it round, and then they catch it again. That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Octopuses often break out of their aquariums and sometimes into others in search of food.
Well, that would depend on the aquarium setup, I assume.
They've boarded fishing boats and opened holds to
Wow.
eat crabs. Okay, so
Wow.
we're gonna open that tab up and find out exactly what's going on there.
Giant octopus. I think we're being redirected. Ooh.
So we're reading an article called "Giant Octopus, Mighty but Secretive Denizen of the Deep," and I've not heard the word denizen in a long time.
Wow.
The giant octopus suffers from bad PR.
Oh man.
It's a scandal-ridden...
It's not the ferocious monster ready to drag sailors to their doom, as legends suggest. It's not the Kraken.
Wow. Yeah. They're shy and reclusive, is what we're reading. So, yeah. I just want to see the bit about it breaking into a boat's hold
And eating
to
crabs.
eat crabs. Which I have to say, or maybe that's what part of it's bad PR. You know, there's a smear against...
Yeah, they probably didn't think about that before. A smear. Yeah. Well.
It probably doesn't realise that its actions are then being seen as representative of all octopuses.
No, probably not.
Which is a shame. Okay, cool. So we're just coming to the end. Thank you for listening to us. That was our first broadcast. Josie will be here next week or some point. Anyway, I think we can all agree that Chloe's deputised very, very well.
Thank you.
In fact, deputised seems like a negative word when actually it's been good.
It's been good, yeah.
A pleasure. So yeah, if you've enjoyed it, tell us.
Yeah,
if you haven't,
tell us.
bottle
If you're
that up.
listening, if you're listening, tell us.
Yeah, if you're listening, tell us. And if you don't like it, just bottle that up and repress it.
Give us another go next week.
Yeah, listen next week. It might be better. Okay, cool. So we will stop broadcasting now, but thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Bye.